Astronomers at UToledo were selected by NASA. I'm Daisy Caruso live with why UToledo is one of the top schools selected on the planet.
Our local hockey team is gearing up for another run at a state title.
Your money isn't worth as much as it was this time last year. I'm Tiara Medley telling you whether or not the prices are here to stay.
Your news in 10 minutes starts now. I'm Lauren Height.
And I'm Kira Jacobs.
You may have noticed an uptick in prices, and I mean, how could you not?
UT10's Tiara Medley spoke with an economist. She joins us now live in the newsroom. Tiara, why is this happening?
Economists say prices are on the rise for a couple reasons. For starters, people's incomes are slowly getting back to normal, so they're attaining more money to go out and spend on supply, but the supply hasn't returned to how it was in 2018 and 2019, right? As you might have noticed, there's shortages everywhere. There's also the issue of panic buying. People expect inflation, so they go out and buy commodities in bulk, and everyone buying the same items in bulk causes the prices for those items to rise. When you get your bill at a restaurant or your grocery receipt, you might notice that prices are a little higher than you're used to. And that goes for gas prices as well. Prices are up because of supply and demand. During 2020, you often saw shortages in the form of empty shelves in some of your favorite stores. Stimulus checks were also allocated, which increased the consumer's demand for goods and services. Dr. Michael Dowd is the Associate Professor of Economics at the University of Toledo and says a self-fulfilling prophecy is what's playing a huge part in the inflation.
You have to also combat the expectation factor. If people just start to expect higher and higher inflation, that by itself will cause higher and higher inflation because people will act in a way to try to protect themselves from the higher prices.
You saw that in the form of people buying goods like toilet paper in bulk. According to Dowd, the inflation for consumer prices has jumped from around 2% this time last year to almost 6%. For producer prices, the prices that businesses pay in order to produce goods and services, has soared about 8.5%.
Businesses will have little choice but to pass on those increased costs to consumers.
The burning question on everyone's mind is, will we ever see the pre-pandemic prices again? To that question, Dr. Dowd says,
it will return. Whether it goes down back to approximately 2%, that has yet to be, we have to wait to see if that actually happens.
Economists say the major thing to take away is that consumers play a huge role in setting prices for commodities. Live in the newsroom, Tiara Medley, UT10 News.
Thank you, Tiara. According to economists, one extra thing to know is that inflation doesn't affect everyone the same way. Those with a fixed income, which is many college students, are affected more by inflation than those with cost of living adjustments. This is because pay raises aren't provided when there's higher inflation.
Turning to news being made here on campus, what's in our water? UToledo researchers set out to search for pesticides in the Ottawa River, and as UT10 Shabazz Khan reports, they were shocked by what they found instead.
This analytical chemistry lab in the University of Toledo develops new strategies to measure environmental contaminants, pharmaceutical pollutants, and microplastics in water sources.
We developed a method that will take just 3 minutes to extract the pollutants from water and couple of minutes to analyze with the instrument.
Many students and local residents enjoy kayaking on this Ottawa River, which flows through the University of Toledo main campus. And to test their model concept for water pollutants, Dr. Emanuela's student collected sample from this part of the Ottawa River where the kayak landing is. And they collected the sample twice. And what did they find out?
It was a analysis that we meant to show that there are pesticides, but we actually found we found cocaine and methadone instead, which we will verify later that is exactly what was in that water.
Although very small percent of the two illicit drugs was found in the water sample.
But this tells us that it's important to monitor the quality of the water that flows in our campus.
It is very difficult to mitigate the presence of environmental pollutants. In Toledo, I'm Shabazz Khan, UT10 News.
Researchers say they are looking for ways to make filters to remove the harmful chemicals. If you'd like to read the researchers' reports, log on to ut10news.com. We have posted them there.
Every moment matters during an emergency, and dispatchers say you may need to take an extra moment to tell them where you are when you're on the phone with 911.
That's because big changes are coming to the way emergency calls are answered here on campus. The University of Toledo Police Department is changing where calls are answered. All of Lucas County's emergency calls, including ones here at the University of Toledo, will now be answered on one centralized 911 system. Chief of Police here at the University of Toledo, Jeff Newton, wants to assure the community that nothing will change from the public's point of view.
There really should be no change. For a long time, we've encouraged our community to dial 911 in emergencies.
This change of dispatch location, I was told, will not change how the officers respond, but you may have to be more particular as to where exactly you are on campus.
About which campus you're on, what building you're located at, or what parking area you're located in. But with that information, they should have no problem getting a UT officer to.
UTPD guarantees this will only improve their response times because they now will have
kind of a smarter GPS system that they can dispatch the closest vehicle to the emergency.
Another change with UTPD recently is the non-emergency line now has a menu option you will hear when you call it.
The only change, and it's fairly slight, is when you call the UT Police Dispatch number 419-530-2600, you'll be presented with several options. Most of our phone calls are actually kind of on our fingerprinting services that we offer, or maybe somebody needs a police report, or some other item that's not related to a police officer going somewhere and doing something.
In other news, Toledo astronomers will be some of the first to utilize what NASA calls the most powerful telescope ever created.
UT10's Daisy Caruso joins us now live in the studio. Daisy, how strong is this telescope?
Some scientists say the telescope will be 100 times more powerful than the Hubble telescope with a 15 times larger field of view. It also has a much higher definition camera. UT astronomers will be some of the first to access this new technology, and 20% of the observation time dedicated to stars will be reserved for Toledo.
The James Webb Telescope will be the largest telescope to ever be launched into space and has a lot of cutting-edge technology that will allow astronomers to discover things they didn't have the ability to discover before. The telescope also uses a lot of infrared technology.
As you can see, the James Webb Telescope is so massive that they need to make it foldable so that it could fit into the rocket while it was being launched into space. And then when it reaches space and detaches from the rocket, it will have to unfold until its true size.
Toledo astronomers were selected by NASA to lead some of the first research projects using data from the James Webb Telescope. Astronomers at Toledo got 5 separate projects approved, and they're the only 5 proposals that got accepted in the state. And Toledo ranked 6th worldwide in terms of proposals for the first round of observations on the James Webb Telescope. Dr. Rupali Chandar, an astronomy professor at Toledo and also a researcher leading a project using data from the James Webb Telescope, explains why Toledo got so much observation time.
We have been thinking about and preparing for a long time for Webb. We have deep expertise in the infrared wavelengths. And then I think we just have a really strong team of researchers. We know what the cutting edge questions are, and we were able to convince panels that they were some of the most important questions to answer.
The telescope will be launched in the French Guiana in December. You can watch the launch on NASA app and on NASA TV.
Some of the research projects Toledo astronomers will be conducting are projects on star nurseries and how star clusters are formed, studying ultra-cool dwarf stars and other elements that are invisible to the eye. Now it's time to turn it over to Zeke with sports.
Both basketball teams started their seasons last weekend, right, Zeke?
That's right, Kira. The men's team played Detroit Mercy and the women's team played Wright State. Also, I'll take you out to Tam O'Shanter, where St. Francis is gearing up for hockey season.
We are now to our student categories.
It's another win.
Spring 2021 UT10 crew.
For UT10, celebrating the best in community service and local journalism. The Press Club of Toledo recognizes UT10 News with the prestigious Touchstone Award in student television.
Congratulations to all of our winners.
Student produced, award-winning UT10 News.
I'm Zeke Fravor, and this is your UT10 Sports Report. I had the opportunity to watch the St. Francis hockey team practice before the puck dropped for the regular season. But first, the men's basketball team took on Detroit Mercy, while the women's team played Wright State. Detroit opened the contest with a three-pointer from Antoine Davis, but the Rockets would answer back with 4 baskets in a row from junior Cedric Milner Jr., JT Shoemate, Ray J. Dennis, and sophomore Brian Rollins. The Titans would take the lead back until Shoemate tied the game at 27 apiece. The Rockets ended the first half on a 6-0 run and headed into the break up 43-35. In the second half, Ray J. Dennis would score 5 of his 13 points on the evening. The Titans weren't done though, as they would go on a 6-0 run of their own to cut the lead to 52-49. That's as close as Detroit would come, as Dennis and Shoemate would both hit three-pointers to ice the game. The win was Toledo's 11th consecutive home opening win. Earlier in the day, the women's basketball team squared off with the Wright State Raiders. Wright State took the early lead, but the Rockets fought back and took a 9-7 lead thanks to junior Hannah Nelvarowski. Junior Sophia Wired sank a 3 to end the first quarter, with the Rockets leading 21-11. In the second quarter, Toledo continued their dominance with 20 points, heading into the break up 41-22. Wright State opened play back up in the third quarter with 7 of the first 10 points, but junior Quenisha Lockett did her part, scoring 10 points of her own to keep the lead at 19. The Raiders would outscore the Rockets in the fourth quarter, but it wouldn't be enough. Freshman Jessica Cook notched a double-double, and Lockett led the way for Toledo with 23 points. The 2020-2021 season was a good one for the St. Francis Knights hockey team. The Knights compiled a 27-3-2 record, won the Northwest Hockey Conference Red Division title, and won the Ohio High School Athletic Association state championship. This year, expectations around the locker room are more of the same. With 3 state titles since 2010, the Knights are one of the premier high school hockey teams in the state. There was some attrition in the offseason as 7 seniors graduated, including top scorers Devin Homeyer, Nick Mack, and defenseman Billy Dressel. Among players returning are seniors Gordy Hunt, Owen Denker, and goaltender Jack Smalley. Last year, attendance was limited, and players had to miss out on the experience of a full student section.
I'm excited, especially for fans this year. It's only my second year. Last year I didn't get to experience that with COVID and all that, so I'm super excited for this year and just to get started.
Head coach Chris Varga is entering his 10th season at the helm. Under Coach Varga, the Knights have won 6 district titles and 3 state titles. The NHC Red Division is wide open this year.
Yeah, BG, Finley, like he said, Northview always has a good team. St. John's is always pretty decent. Our entire league is pretty tough this year.
St. Francis opens league play against the Bowling Green Bobcats Friday, November 19th at Sylvania Tam O'Shanter. Back to you, Lauren and Kira.
Thank you, Zeke. That's it for UT10 News.
We here at UT10 wish you a happy Thanksgiving and hope you have safe travels. Remember, you can catch newscast replays on YouTube. Don't forget to follow us on social media.
And listen to 88.3 WXUT-FM Saturday mornings at 7:45 for the UT10 Weekly News Update. We'll see you in 2 weeks.